Rupam tasya grajam uruparim maturim gostavatim radikundam girivaram ho radikam madhavasam Praptoyasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tam natosmi jai Vishnupaya shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita chapter 2, Adi Leela chapter 2, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 16. Se Govinda Bhajyami Tehon Morapati Tanhara Prasade Morahaya Shristi Shakti. I worship Govinda. He is my Lord. Only by his grace am I empowered to create the universe. Statement by Lord Brahma. Munayo Vacha Vasanaha Shramana Urdva Mantinaha Ramakyam Dhamate Yanti Shanta Sanyasino Malaha. Naked saints and sannyasis who undergo severe physical penances, who can raise the semen to the brain, and who are completely equipoised in Brahman, can live in the realm known as Brahmaloka. Atmantayami yanre yoga shastrekaya seha govindera amsa vibhuti yehaya. He who is described in the Yoga Shastras as the indwelling Supersoul is also a plenary portion of Govinda's personal expansion. Ananta svatike yaiche ekasurya vase taiche jive govindera amsa prakashe. As the one sun appears reflected in countless jewels, so Govinda manifests himself in the hearts of living beings. Atava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna vistabhyaham idam kritsnam ekam shena stito jagat. Personality of Godhead said, "What more shall I say to you? I live through this cosmic manifestation merely by my single plenary portion. Tam imam aham ajam sharirabhajam hridi dishtidam atma kalpitanam pratidrisham eva naikadarkam ekam samadhigatosmi viduta bedamoha." Grandfather Bhishma said, as the one sun appears differently situated to different seers, so also to you, the unborn, appear differently, represented as Paramatma in every living being. But when a seer knows himself to be one of your own servitors, no longer does he maintain such duality. Thus I am now able to comprehend your eternal forms, knowing well the Paramatma to be only your plenary portion. Saita Govinda Shakshash Chaitanya Gosani Jivanistariti Aiche Dayalu Arinai. That Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Gosani. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. Paravyometi Vaise Narayana Nama Sad Aishvarya Purna Lakshmi Kanta Bhagavan. Lord Narayan, who dominates the transcendental world, is full in 6 opulences. He is the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the Goddess of Fortune. Veda Bhagavat Upanishad Agama Purna Tattva Yanre Kahe Nahi Yanrasama. The personality of Godhead is He who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to Him. Bhakti yoge bhakta paya yanhara darashana surya yena save graha deke devagana. Through the service, devotees see that the personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. Jnana yoga marge tanre bhajaye sabha. Brahma atma rupe tanre kare anubhava. Those who walk the paths of knowledge and yoga worship only him, for it is him they perceive as the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. Generally, the Gyan practice leads to the realization of Brahman, impersonal Brahman, and yoga leads to Paramatma. Bhakti leads to Bhagavan. Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different...
What do you say, the yoga?
Yeah, Paramatma is yoga. Yoga leads to
Yoga.
Paramatma.
Hatha yoga? Oh.
Yeah, Hatha yoga, Kriya yoga.
Hatha yoga leads to the realization of the
Paramatma.
Well, I was reading that in Bhagavad Gita last night, actually. You're saying that.
Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different modes of worship, as the example of the sun illustrates. Say Narayan Krishnara Swarupa Beda Eka Eva Graha Kintu Akara Vibeda. Narayan and Sri Krishna are the same personality of Godhead, but although they are identical, their bodily features are different. Inho ta dvibhuja tinho dare charihata. Inho veno dare tinho chakradikasata. The personality of Godhead has 2 hands and holds a flute, whereas the other has 4 hands with conch, wheel, mace and lotus. Narayanastvam nahi sarvadehinam atmasya darisa kila lokashakshi Narayanongam narabu jalayanat taschapi satyam na tavaiva maya. O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation, you are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not therefore my father, Narayan? Narayan refers to one whose abode is in the water born from Nara, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and that Narayan is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and are not creations of Maya. Sheshu Vatsahari Brahma Kari Aparada Aparada Ka Kshamaite Magena Prasada. After Brahma had offended Krishna by stealing his playmates and cows, he begged the Lord's pardon for his offensive act and prayed for the Lord's mercy. Tomara Nabhi Padma Haite Amara Janmodaya Tumi Pita Mata Ami Tomara Tanaya. I took birth from the lotus that grew from your navel. Thus you are both my father and my mother, and I am your son. Pita Mata Balakera Nalaya Aparada Aparada Kshama Mora Karaha Prasada. Parents never take seriously the offences of their children. I therefore beg your pardon and ask for your benediction. Krishna Kahena Brahma Tomara Pita Narayana Amigo Patumi Kaiche Amaranandana. Sri Krishna said, O Brahma, your father is Narayan. I am but a cowherd boy. How can you be my son? Brahma Balena Tumi Ke Na Hao Narayana Tumi Narayana Sunanta Tahara Karana. Brahma replied, are you not Narayan? You are certainly Narayan. Please listen as I state the proofs. Prakrita Shristye Yata Jiva Rupa Tahara Ye Atma Tumi Mula Swarupa. All the living beings within the material and spiritual worlds are ultimately born of you. For you are the super soul of them all. Prithvi Aiche Gata Kulera Karana Ashraya Jivere Nidana Tumi Savashraya. As the earth is the original cause and shelter of all the pots made of earth, so you are the ultimate cause and shelter of all living beings. Nara sabde kahe sarva jivara nichaya ayana sabdete kahe tahara ashraya. The word Nara refers to the aggregate of all the living beings. And the word Ayana refers to the refuge of them all. Ataiva tumi hai mula narayana. E eka he tu shuna dvitiya karana. You are therefore the original Narayan. This is one reason. Please listen as I state the second. Jivara Ishwara Purushari Avatara Tanhasaba Haite Tomara Aishwarya Apara. The direct lords of the living beings are the Purusha incarnations, but your opulence and power are more exalted than theirs. Ataiva Adishwara Tumi Sarvapita Tomara Shakti Te Tanra Jagat Rakshita. Therefore you are the primeval Lord, the original Father of everyone. They are protectors of the universes by your power. Narera ayana yate karaha palana ataiva how tumi mula narayana. Since you protect those who are the shelters of all living beings, you are the original Narayan. Tritiya karana suna Sri Bhagavan ananta brahmanda bahu vaikuntadidam. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly hear my third reason. There are countless universes and fathomless transcendental Vaikuntas. Iti yata jiva tara trai kalika karma tahadeka shakshi tumi janasabha marma. Both in this material world and in the transcendental world you see all the deeds of all living beings in the past, present and future. Since you are the witness of all such deeds, you know the essence of everything. Tomara darshane sarva jagatera stiti tumi na dekhile karo nahi stiti gati. All the worlds exist because you oversee them. None can live, move, or have their being without your supervision. Narera ayana yate karadarashana tahateo how tumi mula narayana. You oversee the wanderings of all living beings. For this reason also, you are the primeval Lord Narayan. Krishna kahena brahma tomara nabu jiva chana jiva hriddi jali vaise se narayana. Krishna said, Brahma, I cannot understand what you are saying. Lord Narayan is he who sits in the hearts of all living beings and lies down on the waters of the Karana ocean. Brahma kahe jale jive ye Narayan se sabha tomara amsa e satyavachan. Brahma replied, what I have said is true. The name Lord Narayan, who lives on the waters and in the hearts of all living beings, is but a plenary portion of you. Karanabdi garbadaksha kirodakasai mayadvare shristi kare tate sabamai. The Karanadakshay, Garbhadakshay and Kiradakshay forms of Narayan all create in cooperation with the material energy. In this way, they are attached to Maya. Saitina jalasai sarva antayami brahmanda brindera atmaye purushanami. These three Vishnus lying in the water are the supersoul and everything. The supersoul of all universes, as known as the first Purusha. Hiranya garbhare atma garbhadakshay vyaste jiva antayami kiradakashay. Garbhadakshay Vishnu is the supersoul of the aggregate of living entities. And Kiradakshay Vishnu is the supersoul of each individual living being. Esabara darshanete achimaya ganda turiya krishnera nahi mayara sambandha. Superficially, we see that these Purushas have a relationship with Maya, but above them, in the fourth dimension, is Lord Krishna, who has no contact with the material energy. Hiranyagarbhara. This has been translated as Garbhadakshay Vishnu is the supersoul of the aggregate of living entities. It's translated Hiranyagarbhara Atma Garbhadakshay. Hiranyagarbhara Atma. Hiranyagarbha, a golden egg, which generally means the universe. Each universe is the Atma of each universe, Garbhadakshay Vishnu. And Vyasti Jiva, Antaryami, Kira Udakshay. Kiradakshay Vishnu is known as the Supersoul, the Paramatma in each, which sits next to the Atma, located in the heart area. Garbhadakshay Vishnu is the Supersoul of each universe. But there are millions of universes, so I think we need to make a distinction here, in case people think Prabhupada is saying that Garbhadakshay Vishnu is the Supersoul of the totality of Jivatmas, which I don't understand to be a fact. It's Hiranyagarbha, not Hiranyagarbha. Garbhadakshay Vishnu is the Supersoul of each universe, rather than Prabhupada's translated it as the aggregate of living entities. It doesn't seem to be what the verse says, and I've heard other places where Garbhadakshay Vishnu is described as the Supersoul of the universe, the universal soul. And higher than that, the Mahavishnu is more the Supersoul, Karanadakshay Vishnu occupies the highest post amongst the Tri Vishnu forms, and that highest post is the Supersoul of the aggregate of the living entities. So I'm not sure what. It requires a little further research. Superficially, we see that these Purushas have a relationship with Maya, but above them, in the fourth dimension, is Lord Krishna, who has no contact with material energy. Purport: the three Purushas, Karanadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Kiradakshay Vishnu, all have a relationship with material energy called Maya, because through Maya they create the material cosmos. These three Purushas, who lie on the Karanagarbha and Kira waters, are the Supersoul of everything that be. Karanadakshay Vishnu is the Supersoul of the collective universes. Garbhadakshay Vishnu is the Supersoul of the collective living beings. And Kiradakshay Vishnu is the Supersoul of all individual living entities. Because all of them are somehow attracted to the affairs of the material energy, they can be said to have some affection for Maya. By the transcendental position of Sri Krishna himself is not even slightly tinged by Maya. His transcendental state is called Turiya, or the fourth dimensional stage. Virad hiranyagarbhascha karanam chet upadhyaya ishasya yat tribir hinam turiyam yat prachakshate. In the material world, the Lord is designated as Virat, Hiranyagarbha, and Karana. But beyond these three designations, the Lord is ultimately in the fourth dimension. Yadyapi tinera maya laya vyavahara tatapi tat sparsha nahi sabe maya para. Although these three features of the Lord deal directly with the material energy, none of them are touched by it. They are all beyond illusion. Etad ishanam ishasya prakritisto piyad gunai nayujyate sadatma ster yata buddhis tadashraya. This is the opulence of the Lord. Although situated in the material nature, he is never affected by the modes of nature. Similarly, those who have surrendered to him and fixed their intelligence upon him are not influenced by the modes of nature. Saitina janera tumi parana ashraya tumi mula narayana ite ke samsaya. You are the ultimate shelter of these three plenary portions. Thus, there is not the slightest doubt that you are the primeval Narayan. This is still Brahma speaking, I believe. Saitinera amsi paravyoma narayana tenha tomara bilasa tumi mula narayana. The source of these three features of Narayan in the spiritual is Narayan in the spiritual sky. He is your vilas expansion. Therefore, you are the ultimate Narayan. Remember, vilas expansion is an expansion that has a form that is distinct from Krishna's form. Different features. Ataiva Brahma Vakye Paravyoma Narayana Tenho Krishnera Vilasa Etatva Virana. Therefore, according to the authority of Brahma, the Narayan, who is the predominating deity in the transcendental world, is but the vilas feature of Krishna. This has now been conclusively proved. E sloka tattva lakshana bhagavata sara paribasa rupe ihara sarva tradikara. The truth indicated in this verse is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. This conclusion, through synonyms, applies everywhere. Brahma Atma Bhagavan Krishnera Vihara E Artana Jani Murkha Artakare Ara. Not knowing that Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan are all features of Krishna, foolish scholars speculate in various ways. Avatari Narayana Krishna Avatara Tenha Chaturbhuja Inha Manushya Akara. Because Narayan has 4 hands, whereas Krishna looks just like a man, they say that Narayan is the original God, whereas Krishna is but an incarnation. E mati nana rupa kari purva paksha tanhare nirjite bhagavata padyadaksha. In this way, the arguments appear in various forms, but the poetry of the Bhagavatam expertly refutes them all. Vedanti tat tattva vidas Tattvam yajganam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabjate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge. It is called impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and Bhagavan, personality of Godhead. Shunabai e sloka karaha vichara Eka mukya tattvatina tanhara prachara. My dear brothers, kindly listen to the explanation of this verse and consider its meaning. The one original entity is known in his 3 different features. Advaya jnana tattva vastu krishnara swarupa Brahma atma bhagavan tina tanra rupa. Lord Krishna himself is the one undivided absolute truth, the ultimate reality. He manifests in 3 features as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. E slokera arte tumi haila nirvachana ada eka shuna bhagavatera vachana. The import of this verse has stopped you from arguing. Now listen to another verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ete chamsa kalapumsha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. All these incarnations of Godhead are the plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead himself. In every age, he protects the world through his different features when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra. Saba avatarera kare samanya lakshana taramadye Krishna chandrera kare laganana. The Bhagavatam describes the symptoms and deeds of the incarnations in general and counts Sri Krishna among them. Tabe sutta gosane mane pada pana badabaya yada ye lakshana taha karila nishchaya. This made Sutta Goswami greatly apprehensive. Therefore he distinguished each incarnation by its specific symptoms. Avatara sabha purushera kala amsa swayam bhagavan Krishna sarva avatamsa. All the incarnations of Godhead are plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But the primeval Lord is Sri Krishna. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of all incarnations. Purva pakshe kahe tomara balata vyakyana paravyoma narayani swayam bhagavan. An opponent may say, this is your interpretation, but actually the Supreme Lord is Narayan, who is in the transcendental realm. I'm not sure what is meant here by the previous verse. The Bhagavatam describes the symptoms and deeds of the incarnations in general. That's understandable. And counts Sri Krishna among them. Well, I suppose that the Bhagavatam finishes with Krishna. But I guess this is the kind of verse that would require a purport, that could benefit from a purport, but there's no purport there. But I think what is being said here is that the Bhagavatam describes the various avatars and expansions, various prakash manifestations and vilas. You say, actually, are there prakash manifestations described in the Bhagavatam? Not really. You could say vilas and various avatars of various kinds described in the Bhagavatam. Nrsimhade, Matsya, Korma, Varaha, Nrsimha. All of these avatars are described in the Bhagavatam. Parashuram, Ram. And then we have Krishna there as well. So, the Bhagavatam, the whole purpose of the Bhagavatam is to elucidate the supremacy of Krishna, to describe and establish the supremacy of devotion to Krishna as the highest form of bhakti, connection, the highest spiritual attainment. First, that establishes bhakti, touches briefly on, we could say, the impersonal conception, does not discuss it in any depth, touches on it and then immediately dives into bhakti, a relationship between the jiva and Bhagavan, describes the various forms of Bhagavan, and then establishes Krishna as the supreme form, the Swayam Bhagavan, which one would imagine is the form in which the highest relationship is achieved, the form in the relationship with which the highest depth of relationship is achieved. And that's what the Bhagavatam concludes with various ontological gradations, describes various ontological conceptions of Bhagavan, ontological tattvas, or truths of Bhagavan, and establishes Krishna as the supreme. So everyone knows that, all devotees know that this is the purpose of the Bhagavatam, to establish Krishna Lila as the supreme Lila, devotion to Krishna as the supreme, it's the pinnacle of devotion. So then when this verse says, the Bhagavatam describes the symptoms and deeds of the incarnations in general and counts Sri Krishna among them, it seems to say that the Bhagavatam is not establishing the supremacy of Krishna, but rather lumping Krishna in with all of these other avatars that it describes. In other words, seeming to say that the Bhagavatam can be misleading for devotees. That seems to be what it implies, right? The Bhagavatam describes the symptoms and deeds of the incarnations in general and counts Sri Krishna among them. So it seems to say that the Bhagavatam is equating Krishna, not distinguishing him as Swayam Bhagavan, but mixing him in, equating him with these other avatars. That seems to be what the verse is saying. Then the next verse says, this made Sutta Goswami greatly apprehensive. Therefore, he distinguished each incarnation by its specific symptoms. No purports on those verses. All the incarnations of Godhead are plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But the primeval Lord is Sri Krishna. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of all incarnations. All right, we'll finish now. Read a little bit from Devotional Treasure Chest by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Yesterday, Param Gurudev, we're reading, is describing the rejection of knowledge in terms of the desire to know everything, the desire to intellectually comprehend spiritual truth, which cannot be intellectually comprehended, is felt via the process of bhakti in the heart. So the attempt to intellectually comprehend it is a faulty endeavor, and it will be counterproductive. And Maharaj quotes was Jnane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva, which is quoted a lot by Gurudev Guru Maharaj. And then he continues, Mahaprabhu has taught Trinada Pisunichena Torara Piseshnuna Amani Na Manadena. It's very difficult to conquer one's fame or prestige. Pratishta, one's love for position, is very difficult to give up. It's easier to give up attraction for females or money, but hankering for one's own position is very difficult. Prestige for position is our innermost enemy. So long as that remains, we cannot offer ourselves in the service of a Vaishnava. I may accept somewhat hesitatingly the service of God, but to serve a Vaishnava would be like coming to a lower settlement, although in fact to become the servant of a Vaishnava would actually be the be-all and end-all of my life. But one may think, how can I accept that idea? I may accept service under the Supreme Lord, that I may anyhow manage, but to become the servant of the servant of the servant, what is this? Should a man stoop so low as this? Therefore, pratishta, position, the consciousness of prestige, is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. Radhadasyam means to become a slave, to embrace the ideal, the hope of becoming a slave. To classify oneself as the slave of Krishna is not the end. One must be willing to become the slave of the slave of the slave. This is the most ludicrous thing. Let them accept this mean settlement. I won't. Soham, I am the biggest of the big. Soham, Shivoham, I am the master of Maya. Shiva, Shivoham. This is the point where the false, separate existence from God begins. Transcending mortality, which is good, transcending mortality, one comes to the plane of mangalam, auspiciousness, which is good in comparison with the plane of mortality. The first reach beyond the limit of mortality is mrityaloka. The first reach beyond the limit of mortality, or mrityaloka, is Mahadev, Shiva. But from Shiva we have to pass to Sundaram, the land of beauty. Shiva is only the middle position, or Mangalam. But this Mangalam is not differentiated in its fullest characteristics at this point. Only it is out of danger. To be out of danger is nothing positive, but it is the highest safe position. However, one must not only be safe, but engaged in the most desirable thing. The safe position is relative Shiva. Above that is Sadashiva, and the plane of positive engagement. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sri Tadeva Swami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Santa Govinda Deva Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Who's singing?
You want to sing?
Do you want to sing, Prabhu?
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yaravaya Namaha.
Yaravaya
Yaravaya
Maravaya
Maravaya
Keshavaya Namaha.
Keshavaya Namaha.
Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan.
Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan.
Giridhari Gopinata Madana Mohan.
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra.
Jai Shri Guru Garanga Vada Girid Hari Ju Ki Jai. Jayam Prishipad Paramamsa Parvati Kacharya Varya Asatar Sata Shushimed Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Prishipad Paramamsa Parvati Kacharya Varya Asatar Sata Shushimed Shri Bhakti Raka Shri Dev Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Prishipad Paramamsa Parvati Kacharya Varya Asatar Sata Shushimed Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jayam Prishipad Shri Govika Sharadas Babiji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Prishipad Shri Satchidananda Shri Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jayam Prishipad Shri Jagannath Das Babiji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guruvarga Ki Jai. Namaskar Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri A.C. Bhakti Vedanti Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Baladev Vijayabhusana Ki Jai. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Narottam Shamananda Srinivasa Acharya Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami Ki Jai. Sabhasada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sabhasada Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shami Kun Radha Kun Givi Govardhan Gopal Jewel Ki Jai. Shri Lakshmi Raha Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nasingadev Ki Jai. Bhakti Prabhupada Palab Maharaj Ki Jai, Ganga Janamaji Ki Jai, Tursi Maharani Ki Jai, Grantavashi Met Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Vishnu Vaishnava Raja Savar Ki Jai, Arkamat Raja Chi Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Tadya Sakamat Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Vishnu Vyapi Tadya Sakamat Ki Jai, Shri Dhamayapur Ki Jai, Shri Dhamnaparit Ki Jai, Vrindavan Pusha Dotam Dham Ki Jai, Shri Baladev Vijayabhusana Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Kun Ki Jai, Shri Sadarshri Gangadharaju Ki Jai, Samarita Vaishnava Mandananda Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Vinda Ki Jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, all these same devotee Ki Jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nitya Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Gadadhara Pandit Prabhu Ki Jai.